What's going on, guys, and welcome back. It is Elio here with another video for Guardians of Gemstones. Now in today's video we're going to be talking about the main three characters that you start off with, or at least the main three characters that the game decides to kind of push onto you. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright, so when you first begin the game, you obviously start off with Luke here, then there's also Sephiria, and then after a certain point of progressing in the just regular storyline through the adventure tab, we come across Leo. So my goal in this video is just to explain to you guys what's good about these characters and what's not so good, so hopefully you won't make the same poor investment choices that I had, which I wouldn't have figured out unless I had done this and then looked back on it afterwards. But anyways, we have Luke here. Luke is a tank type. He is also a steel class, and then because he is a Glacian, when the battle begins, he starts with his shield that comes up for 3 turns, and his defense also increases by 10%. Now the shield is a good selling point of this type of character, because the shield adds in a lot of meat to him, and it makes, you know, tanking blows, especially when you start a battle, a lot more just a lot easier to deal with in terms of any damage that might come out. So overall, that isn't bad at all. But if we go over here and dive into the skills, this is kind of what sets him apart from being good and bad. But first, let's take a look at his skills before I get into that. So his first skill is Novice Piercing, and this is his active. Obviously mine is fully booked up, and basically you can use it every turn. It inflicts damage to the enemy, and once you book it up, there's also a 50% chance to burn the target. Now this move, especially in the beginning, I was super duper hyped about, but after like playing with him for quite a while and progressing through the story, it's still not enough. Like, the damage on it is very, very bad, and even though burn is a great debuff to have, especially at 50%, because, you know, you receive 20% of max HP as damage when the turn ends, the probability of the stun sticking, number one, isn't super duper great, at least in Luke's case, because this is his only burn move. And number two, there are monsters with burn immunity up there, which kind of, you know, makes his passive skill on his active a little bit useless, and it kind of just erodes that. Not to mention there's better units that are more suited for burning. Even if the burn doesn't stick, there's more characters out there that can do a lot more damage. Then once we move over here to his other active, which is Steel Storm, mine is currently level 2 out of 3. This has a 4-turn cooldown, which is quite a long time, and this does inflict damage to all enemies, and I lied, it does have a chance to apply burn to the targets, which is once again good, but with a 4-turn cooldown, unfortunately I find that to be a little bit horrid to my liking. Now we can fully book it up and increase the damage on it, which is definitely needed if you were going to continue using Luke, but the issues with Luke is just that his skills aren't bad, but they aren't super duper good either. Like I stated before, there's a lot of burn units in the game that just do a way better job than him, and they're not necessarily a tank type. Like, I'm not saying that he's super duper bad, but especially as a beginning unit, he's not someone that you would end up using you know, to the end of the game, unless you just really like him. And then for his last move, he has Challenge. This is level 1, it has a 3-turn cooldown on it, and it just protects ally for 1 turn. And then as we level it up more, we can see that the next level applies a defense increasing buff, which is great in terms of tanking. But unfortunately, like I said before, he's just pretty average. Like, he's not bad once you book him up, but his damage, especially from what I've seen and what I've attempted with him, really drops down super duper quick. Like, I want to say the middle of the story on normal, like, you can see a severe damage decrease in him, and unfortunately burn isn't enough to carry him much more to the point of where you're like, okay, I think I need to go ahead and drop Luke. So when I say invest in him, yes, invest in Luke to a point where you can get other characters and then invest in them. Like level 50 Luke, level 44 Luke is already probably too high as this goes, but it is what it is. We can go over here and check out his level 5 Awakening skill though, which is going to take forever to get to. We could choose one of the 3, which says, you know, 25% of damage to current 25% of current HP to all enemies when dead, which isn't that bad if you chose that skill. Weakening when attacked, 50% chance to remove all buffs of the enemy. Once again, that's not bad at all. And then sealed light, damage to light types enemies increases by 30%. I think that one will make him more DPS like, but since he's also a tank, I wouldn't really rely on him for super duper high amounts of DPS, especially considering that there's other units. But all of these awakening skills aren't a bad choice at all. I would probably end up doing either weakening though, or perhaps still fragment, but it's not like I have any aspirations at the moment to invest into Luke super duper long anyways. I mean, I will get him up as time goes on because I'm sure I'll end up running out of units, and my goal is to, you know, kind of try and max out all units just because. But yep, that's Luke. He is average, he's acceptable, but I would honestly just work on another unit once you are able to, you know, pull a lot more units and farm the story comfortably, and go ahead and drop him because there are just better units out there. Moving on to Sephiria, who is our healer. We can see right here that she's a support type. She's also a light element, or well, a light type. And then she's a Solventian, which she's resistant to taunt and corrupt. So you can't really taunt her, and corrupt is a good resistance to have depending on what enemies that you're fighting. But I do believe corrupt already takes like 3 stacks for it to do whatever it needs to do. So again, it's not super duper amazing at all. But let's go over here to her skills real quick. So Shining Might inflicts damage to enemies, or damage to an enemy, and this has a 0 turn cooldown, so we can use it as much as we like. And at the next level, it does apply skill lock to the enemy, which is fine. As you guys can see here, so far these units don't really excel at anything until you skill book them up, which is a good portion of the game in terms of making a unit go from either trash to wow, this one's actually useful. But the skill lock is a good skill to have, but it's just better fit for other units. I mean, this is single target, which is nice, but her damage already is like dirt nasty low, and it doesn't really add too much to it. Her other move is the Earner's Prayer, recovers HP of one ally. This has a 2 turn cooldown, and even if we level it up, I'm sure that not only will there be the purification effect at level 2, but at level 3 it should be a little bit more potent. But the issue is that single target healing, at least from this character, is still pretty bad. Like, there's nothing super duper amazing about this at all. And when I bring the heals, I would want to heal the entire squad, because there's a lot of enemies as you progress through the game that hit you with AoEs that damage everyone, and me wasting a turn to heal one single target isn't really going to help me at all. And then for her passive, sociability increases the attack power of light type allies. I'm not sure how much this increases their attack power by, but I will say that it's honestly not enough for you to sacrifice a slot on your team for Sephiria. She gets the job done just like Luke, but I would argue and say that she's probably worse than Luke in all aspects. She is a very, very mediocre healer. And if we take a look at her passive skills over here for her awakening at level 5, if you choose to invest in her that far, at the start of every turn, 50% chance to purify yourself. Once again, kind of not worth it because you already have a move that you can use purification with. So I would just rely on that move because it also can heal you. So why would you pick that one anyways? Revelation skills increased by 100%. That's probably going to be the move for her because her skills are already a bit lackluster. But if this can increase her skill damage / skill potency, that may be enough to give her, a breath of fresh air. Not necessarily make her top tier or anything like that, because she's still definitely one of the weakest support units in the game. But it could make her potentially better. And then damage to dark type enemies increased by 30%. You could throw a trinket on and get, not a trinket, but you could throw an artifact on and get the same, effect without you sacrificing a slot. So I'll probably say Revelation's probably her best bet at this point, but I don't recommend building her at all. Like, keep her just like Luke, but drop her as soon as you get someone else. Like, once you get the Elf Priest, which is the nature supporter, just drop Sephiria and start building the Elf Priest because she's just way superior. Her move kit is just way better, and yeah, Sephiria's there to get the job done until you get the Elf Priest, which you can get by clearing out the notebooks. And then last but not least, we have Leo. Now Leo is also another tank type, which is a bit of a weird champ, because I'm like, why did they give us 2 tanks of different types in the game, but we don't really have any dedicated DPS? That's a bit weird to me. I didn't make the game, but it is what it is. He's obviously just a nature type right there, and then Luke was steel, while Sephiria is a light type. And then he also comes with Claw Tribe, which attack power increases by 10%, when bleeding attack power increases by 20%. Not super duper appealing, because he's essentially saying I need a debuff to be stronger, but 10% is okay. I guess he would possibly outdamage Luke, but Luke does have the ability to burn targets, which burn at this point in this video, or at the time of this video, is just absolutely bonkers, dude. It's absolutely crazy. But anyways, we can see right here, for his first skill, Trample, it has a 0 turn cooldown, so you can use it as much as you like. And at level 2, there's a damage increase on it. There's no added effect to it, which is a bit lackluster, because at least, even though Luke's active doesn't really do that much damage depending on what you're fighting, burn in itself can do damage if it does stick. And then he comes in with Iron Heart, which once again protects ally for 1 turn, and this has a 2 turn cooldown. And once we level it up, it applies a defense increasing buff, which I think this is honestly just copy and paste from Luke, which once again is a bit weird to me, that why did we get like 2 of basically the same units with different elements? Why? I mean, this can be useful, but in most case scenarios, I haven't seen this to be super duper useful. I think the last time I used this was when I was running Luke, and I needed to just guard, or basically get some damage, mitigate some damage from the rest of the squad when I was fighting Lucifer on normal at the 11-9 stage. But other than that, yeah, it's not even worth the skill books in my opinion. And then he has Mutilation as his last move. This has a 2 turn cooldown as well, and inflicts damage to an enemy 2 times in a row, bind target at 75% chance. Now with Blux, it does increase that bind chance, which isn't bad at all, but 2 times in a row, I'm not sure what the damage multiplier on this move is, but you could get a little bit of DPS out of there, and bind isn't bad at all. But with a 2 turn cooldown, it does make it to where it's kind of like a, you know, not necessarily a desperation move, but a move that's more focused on preventing an enemy from acting. So basically crowd control, and damage is just, you know, on the backseat of that. So once again, a little bit lackluster. The bind is nice though, I will admit, especially if we can get it to 80, 90, even 100%. But yeah, it does kind of fall off a little bit, because once again, there's other units that can do an AoE bind. Why would I waste time investing in you when you can only do a single target bind? And if we go over here and take a look at his awakening skills at level 5, regenerate when attacked, 30% chance to recover 10% of max HP. I don't think that's worth it. 30% is very, very low, and only 10% of your max HP. Once again, it's very, very low. Unless you're getting hit with like a multi-hitting move where it will proc each and every time, then I don't think it's worth it. Then Vitality removal. When attacked, 50% chance to remove all buffs of enemies. That could be interesting too, depending on what team composition that you're running, because there are some units that can kind of already debuff an enemy of whatever buffs that they have already. So the same thing with Luke here. This could be potentially good, but it really just depends on your team lineup. And then we have Rust, which is damage to steel type enemies increases by 30%. Once again, we have artifacts. If you don't want to waste an artifact slot, then I can understand you going for this, but especially as a tank, it's kind of like, why would I build him DPS like when his moves don't really facilitate DPS? He has 2 single target moves and a protection move, so that would leave just basically regeneration depending on what you're fighting, or vitality removal depending on your team composition. But would I invest in these characters like for the end game, you guys? Absolutely not. They are there to get you past whatever you're trying to get past, and I would argue and say that you could build Luke out of all 3 of these if you were to build anyone. Drop Sephiria once you get the Elf Priest, and Leo, you don't honestly even have to touch Leo. I mean, I touched him because obviously I'm a noob cake kid. I need to just, you know, I need to try things out to learn and understand about the game, but I could tell you from my investment already, this orange definitely isn't worth the squeeze. But that's pretty much it for this video, you guys. I just wanted to cover these 3 main characters before I move on to any other units in the game. because these are the 3 characters that the game kind of presents to you, especially in like the title screen and stuff of that nature. So they would like you to think that they're good, but they're not, and that's perfectly fine because there's plenty of units in this game that do a really good job, and there's also units that don't do jack. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't considered already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on the latest of the Guardian of Gemstones content. Be sure that you check out the Discord if you haven't already, or the Reddit. All links are in the description below, and I will see you guys in the next one.